There you go. All right. So, without further ado, big news today came out. I got a phone call from uh, from one of the attorneys who work over Alshire and Winder. They called me and said, "Hey, we really wanted to talk to Bill, but we couldn't, and so we thought of you." And I've got some news for you, and it's regarding SB9. And to back up for just a quick second regarding SB9, uh, the SB9, oh, I see the problem on the website. Thank you. The deal with SB9 is SB9 was passed a few years ago by our state legislature, and the state came through and said, we are going to allow any single family home to be subdivided into two lots, and you can build two townhomes on the lot, and the you must put ADUs on there as well. And in doing that, you have 4 units, and essentially end up with 4 units on this lot. None of it needs to be affordable. And in doing that, we're going to add more density to the state. We're going to add more housing to the state, and things are going to magically get cheaper. That's their thinking. Well, City of Redondo Beach City Council sued on this and says you can't apply this to cities that have a city charter. A city charter is a constitution for individual city. So in Redondo, we have our own charter, and we say in our own charter that when we hold our own elections and we do our own zoning, we have our own laws, and the state does not have anything to say regarding that. Well, if you're not a charter city, you're what's called a general law city, and the state can do whatever they want with you. It doesn't matter what you say. The state can literally, it's by law, they can change anything. Well, if you remember SB 415, where the state tried to force our city into going to an even year election, we fought the state and we won. So we continuously have our elections on an off-cycle odd year. In fact, you see it October of 2022, you saw when we had a special election, more people voting in our special election and a citywide election than they did in the general election of 2022. So we get a very high turnout rate, and it's because we have less items on the ballot, and people care about this community. Well, when SB9 passed, we fought the state, we filed a lawsuit, we've been going through it, it's been years, and proud to announce that we have officially won that at the trial court level. So SB9 does not apply to cities with city charters. Haven't been able to read the full decision yet, but I can tell you it is big news for us, huge news for us. We spent a lot of money. We partnered with the city of Torrance, the city of Whittier, and the city of Carson. And the city of Carson and the city of Whittier have the same attorneys, and that's Alshire and Winder. It's Sunny Soltani and Pam Lee, who were the lead attorneys on this lawsuit, and they were the ones who filing all the briefs, all the paperwork, all the things to the court. They were up there arguing in front of the judge. Some city council members from Torrance, residents from Torrance, went to downtown LA to hear their arguments. And the judge has been delaying this and delaying this and delaying this. In fact, he delayed it twice because he knows the impacts of this lawsuit. It's statewide. Everyone in the state of California who lives in a charter city will be affected by this. It's SB 9 has been struck down for cities with their own charter, so chartered cities. And this is big news. It's a big update. Surely the state's going to uh, uh, fight this and file an appeal. But you know what? We expected that, and it's one of the things that I've said all along. Uh, they will litigate this until they get their way, and when they finally lose, they'll probably just end up passing a new bill down the line that fixes the problems of this particular bill. But regardless, right now, this is big news for all cities in state of California, all chartered cities. We have we've fought back and we've won against the state legislature. There's big impacts to this. On the other side of it, AB 2560, which impacts the coastal zone, passed one of the committee hearings today, land use committees, state resources and land use committees, I believe. And that basically makes affordable housing for the coastal zone a by right. It is they don't call it affordable housing in the state. They actually call it what's the state affordable housing bonus law or state affordable housing law. But you know that the state legislatures keeps coming up with more and more of these laws. So we're striking the big ones down. There's a great graphic. I need to actually I'll have to bring this up right now. This graphic, how many of these state laws that they're working on right now. It's since 2017, well over 200 laws they've passed at state level that attack our local coastal or local laws for zoning. And I will find actually that poster, and just this year, there's like 150 or 200 laws alone that they're working on. And I'm going to share my screen right now and show you all of these laws that they're working on, so you get to see. And it's a doozy. These are all the state housing laws that they're working on currently in the state of California. And I mean, you know, they even have coastal housing production. These are all laws right up here in this area. These are all specifically designed right there. Number one, AB 2560 allows density bonus to be used. You know, administerial SB 1077, administerial approval of coastal ADUs. ADUs can be which are accessory dwelling units, can be up to 1,100, 1,200 square feet in size. Massive, huge. And so to allow that with no parking requirements, to allow that in a coastal zone, that's just, you know, it bypasses all the coastal restrictions we've had to protect the coastline, access to the coastline, views, parking, access, all of that. You know, parking in transit. So if you're by a major transit stop within half a mile or mile, they allow now, or they're working on allowing streamlining and just allowing high density building. Let's see here. Where's another one? SB 951. That's a Senate bill that's been in the state legislature. Senator Wiener is working on that. That only applies right now to San Francisco, the city of San Francisco. And this is their game plan. It is make it only apply to one city or one little zone, get that passed, and start moving that forward to all the cities. Make it happen everywhere. And we see that with AB 2560. That's what they're going to start moving forward on. So it's up to cities, all of our cities, like us here in Redondo, to file these lawsuits and move forward. But this is just a temporary solution. You know, the real solution is our neighborhood voices, and that really is what it comes down to. And it's statewide initiative that's going to stop. If we get on the ballot and it passes, it's going to stop all the Sacramento legislators from taking over our local zoning and local housing laws, and we'll be able to have that, gain that control back as to where we put housing, how much of it we put in all of our cities. And it's vital we have that, because when you have SB 9, and I'll pull up the image that, if you didn't see the image I put today, this was something Our Neighborhood Voices was showing with what happens. It's a perfect representation, actually, what happens with these absurd laws. There's I'll get into the details right after I show you. This is exactly what the state of California says is the solution. And middle screen. So this is the answer the state of California says. You take a $1.7 million affordable unit right here. This is affordable, old house. Had a tenant in there, and this was sold a couple of years ago, and it was sold to a developer who went to an SB 9 project. And on the left hand, what you see here are two townhomes with two ADUs in there. The one on the left was sold for 1.8 million, and the house itself, the lot, everything was sold for 1.7 million. And the parking is only at the minimum of 2 parking spots. You can see they put a little one car garage on either side, so there's 2 parking spots. Sure, you can park in the driveway, so you get maybe 4 there. And the unit on the right was sold for $2 million. So my question to everyone on this and state legislators are, where's the affordability in this? Where is the affordability in this? Was any of these units required to be affordable? The answer is no. And that is exactly what we argue in SB 9 with this lawsuit. Is in the very beginning of the Senate bill, it said, in matter of statewide concern, to override housing law on local chartered cities, and to say that if we just do this and add more density, we're going to have more affordable housing. But the problem is, in this Senate bill, is nowhere after the very beginning where they mention there's an affordability crisis do they mention that any of these units shall be affordable. Nowhere in this Senate bill afterwards, in the guts, did it say affordable housing. It just says producing housing, housing density, producing housing, need more housing. But nothing was about affordable housing. And this is what the crutch of the whole thing is. If the state truly believes that there is a housing crisis with affordability, right? Affordability in there, then pass affordable housing laws and create a bond and make sure when SB 9 is in place, you put in here that the second townhome needs to be equal or lesser value. It needs to be affordable. 80% of the AMI, affordable means index, of your particular county. Right? Does this look like it's affordable? It's not affordable. So at the end of the day, this surely it's going to be appealed by the state of California, but it's a big deal because we are fighting this in Redondo, and to be quite frank and honest with you guys, I'm a little tired of fighting it. That's really hilarious, Dr. Wayne Craig. I just saw your image. We're spending a lot of money on this. We're getting somewhere with this, but it's a short-term solution, short-term win for the long-term game, which is Our Neighborhood Voices. So I see a lot of comments in here. Let me get to them. This is like I said, you can't ask for a bigger win than this. Which judge made this ruling? That's a great question. I could probably find that out for you in one of my legal stuff. It's not a judge we normally deal with on these issues, so I'll probably find that right now. Let's see. Bob Bonta, who wants to run for governor. Yes, that is very true. Bob Bonta he's our attorney general. He does want to run for governor. He's already said he wants to run for governor. He threw Our Neighborhood Voices under the bus with a couple of lines. Yeah, it's not good. But this is not a ballot measure. Just so everyone, SB 9 is a Senate bill. It was passed in the Senate a couple of years ago. And We've been fighting it in the court, and the basis of the lawsuit that we fought is you can't just take a charter city and override our zoning and say this is now what you shall be doing. And oh, by the way, there's nothing in here for the production of the housing that is affordable housing. So that was the basis of our lawsuit. We have Measure DD in Redondo, and that's certain housing impacts. So, or excuse me, certain zoning impacts. So if you change the zoning and you hit certain impact levels, that impact or that zoning change has to go to a vote of the people. So for instance, Kensington on the corner of PCH and Nob Hill, memory care facility, that was a change of zoning for that particular location that went to a vote of the entire city, and it passed unanimous, or not unanimously, it passed 60 something percent of the votes, 70% of the voters, huge numbers. But that is SB 9 overrides our local zoning laws and just goes right past that. And that actually, Measure DD Article 27 is actually what the SB Our Neighborhood Voices is modeled off of. So that's the backstory of that. So let's see here. Yes, Bill Brand winning even from the grave. Like I said in the beginning, I got a call from one of the attorneys over there at Alshire Winder, and the first thing out of the mouth was, I really wanted to call Bill, and I realized I couldn't call Bill. So I was the next person that they could call, and it's really, really cool that we got this win. Let's see here. They have taken stand by abundant housing. Yes, abundant housing and YIMBY housing. So the YIMBY groups. YIMBY groups are the groups funded by Wall Street and developers, and they are paying off all A, politicians, and B, they are paying off politicians in terms of giving them donations to their campaigns. Look at Senator Wiener up in San Francisco. His campaign is funded been huge numbers by real estate developers, and they don't talk about it up there. In fact, the guy who's running for mayor of San Francisco right now, he's a supervisor, county supervisor, Aaron Peskin. He's making this one of the center points of his campaign, and saying the state overreach has gone way too far. We need to fight back. Mayor London Breed up there, she is going along with the state, and Supervisor Aaron Peskin is saying, nope, no more. Against 2560, AB 951, or SB 951, and all these Senate bills are coming out. I'm fighting against it. So it's important, and that we fight it and we move forward. Let's see here. Any other comments? Anyone will raise their hand and get some more information on this. Let's see here. I will look on the comments. Taking initiative on joining trying execution from buying properties. Yes, David Epstein. So just so you know, that we followed a there is a state law 2530 or something, I'm not sure. We voted 4-1 to support the stopping of the corporatization of private housing. How do I say this? Basically, what's happening in Atlanta is a great comment in there. In Atlanta, single-family homes and neighborhoods are being bought up by corporations, and particularly by hedge funds. And these hedge funds, there's some neighborhoods, 30% of the neighborhoods, 40% of the neighborhoods, and if they continue at the current pace, 35-40% of the entire Atlanta suburb are going to be owned by private equity firms. And there's a state law that's going through working. It's a state bill that's working its way through the commissions that basically says corporations can't do this, can't own it. We've voted 4-1 to support this legislation, and it's not right what's happening up there, because private equity firms are coming in and turning us all into renters. That's really what's happening. I don't have a current link for the decision. I'm awaiting that along with the press release. So Holly Osborne, your hand is up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I collected signatures for our neighborhood voices, but the little sketches we had on our signs were illustrating the SB 9 law, because we thought that was the worst of the worst. I mean, there's other bad laws out there. And I am just so relieved right now because collecting those signatures and sort of making SB9 the poster child for our neighborhood voices brought a lot of awareness. And I hope everybody here gets. I'm very excited right now. I had a hard time getting on your meeting, but I'm too excited to talk. Thank you.
Well, that's awesome, Holly. I can't thank you enough. You've been a huge supporter of all this stuff. It's been great to have people like you on board. You do your due diligence. You understand. You speak at a lot of different places. You've made a huge difference all the way throughout the whole system. So thank you, Holly, for everything, for all your support. It's listen. I can only do so much as elected officials. It's really up to you guys, the voters, to get out there and contact elected officials and at the state level. And Senator Assemblymember Al Marisucci, 2560 passed the commission. He's on that commission, and it passed that commission. Guess what? He voted no on that. So great job to Assemblymember Al Marisucci. That committee, I should say, not commission, committee. And that's standing up for local cities. So especially coastal cities, it's important. And so thank you. Big shout out to Al Marisucci for supporting that, or actually not supporting, opposing 2560, that commission that he sits on. We have more people in California than in Canada. That is, I'm not sure if that's true, but we have more people, about the same amount of people in California as there are in Australia, I think. And Australia is the size of the United States. Basically, roughly, kind of about, not quite, but you can look it up. It's very interesting. Population California, we are very dense. So let me go ahead and look up online here if there's any other comments. All right, no comments on Facebook. So if you have a comment from Facebook, let me know, and we'll go from there. But any other comments for anyone, or any other updates and comments on this? Next steps for our neighborhood voices, so everyone knows where we're at with that, is they are currently doing fundraising and getting volunteers, and basically they need 1.1 million signatures to qualify for the ballot. So to have that buffer in there, because not every signature will be valid for whatever reason, you need 1.5 million signatures. The going rate for signatures is anywhere between $6 and $10, maybe $12. So we were talking around $10 to $15 million to pay for signature gatherers. That's on one side of the extreme. On the other side of the extreme, you have 100% volunteer signature gatherers. When Holly was talking about, she was getting signatures. And for signature gathering, well, you don't pay the signature gatherers for signatures. You do have to pay for the books. You do signature books. You do have to pay for the infrastructure, the website, the voter lists and all that. It's expensive. So they've got roughly 50,000 people that they have recruited, going around the state and having events. It's had an event last week, Thursday, on the 18th, and they collected some big checks. I was up an event up in was it Rolling Hills Estates, and I spoke at the event for them, and we collected a $10,000 check, among with a couple other checks. So it's big news. They're moving forward. A lot of great news coming out of our neighborhood voices. They're getting big support from across the state, gaining steam. You guys need to just go to their website and let other people know about the activity that's happening there. Sign up to volunteer. Little things like just going to the ourneighborhoodvoices.com. I'll put the link into the chat. Just going there, you will, and putting your name as a volunteer, that helps out a lot. Sending that link to a friend, that helps out even more. These little things, it might not sound like a big deal, but when you get your name on a list, it increases that number, right? We're at 20,000, then 25,000, 30,000. It's just slowly been creeping up. And donate $50, $100, $200. It helps out tremendously. And yeah, we're getting somewhere. Fighting back against the state through many different ways, and it's yeah, it's great news to report. So if no one has any other questions or comments on this, as soon as I get more updates on this, I will let you know. I will put it on my Facebook page. I'll put it on my website, the actual decision, as well as the uh, impacts and the any press releases from anyone, whether it's our city attorney or it's the company Alshire Winder that actually did all the work for this. So, yeah, big news, and thank you everyone for joining up and supporting. We'll go ahead and get to our next online topic. Today is Earth Day, I believe it's today, yeah. And South Bay Parklands had a big event, a couple big events. They're at Wilderness Park. So big thank you to South Bay Parklands Conservancy, and they had some really cool stuff going on there, and a lot of stuff that's happening along the coastline and the Esplanade. They are rewilding, taking rid of all the non-native plants and putting native plants there, and then doing a ton of work at Wilderness Park, getting that place all fixed up, as well as Hermosa and Alondra. So a lot of cool stuff happening in there. Oh, let me change my view real quick. All right. I wasn't able to get to any of the events, so if any of you guys want to speak to any events, you're more than welcome to. That'd be awesome. You go to speaker view. There you go. Much better for the speaker view. All right, that's better. All right. Let's see. Next item on the agenda. There's so much to go over. All right, first things first, we got there. Redondo Beach Paddleout with Mayor Brand. So that's a May 11th. So that is Saturday, May 11th at 11 a.m. The South Bay Parklands is actually selling some leis, and any money left over from that, which should be a pretty good amount, will be going to the Bill Brown Educational Scholarship Fund. So that'll be really cool. I know you can rent a paddleboard for this event. It'll be at Veterans Park at 11 o'clock. Check-in and board drop-off starts at 9:30 in the morning. We're expecting a good amount of people. Information is on my website, and as well as on my Facebook page. I've been emailing it out. Just on the north side of the old library will be the check-in and drop-off point. We'll get going at 11 o'clock. You can rent a paddleboard from Olympus Paddleboards, as well as Body Glove. I know Olympus will be donating some of their profits to the educational or scholarship fund that South Bay Parklands has set up. Like I said, you can buy some leis through their website, South Bay Parkland Conservancy, and they'll make a few bucks and put that into the scholarship fund. And then of course there's gear, there's shirts, and there's hats that you could buy. It's a really cool design. They've gotten a lot of comments. So the people that are positive comments for the people that are setting that up. Some hats, some shirts, and sweaters. So it's people have really been putting together a lot of work on that. So we also have on that morning my community meeting at Veterans Park. It'll be at the senior center there from 8:30 to 10:30 in the morning. It'll be an hour earlier so that we could do the paddle out at 11 o'clock. I know it's really early, but that's the way the schedule goes. And then after the paddle out and after the community meeting, we're gonna have a lunch in the park. So we'll go down to the pier area and grab some food, and we'll all be hanging out in the park together and having a good time. So it'll be really, really cool. Mr. Mark Hansen, you got your hand up.
Yes, Niels, I know that Pat Light's working close with you on coordinating the boat rides for family and principals and so forth. Pat was unavailable for the King Harbor Yacht Club board meeting the other day. And the Commodore turned to me and says, Mark, is there anything else we need to be doing? And I said, yeah. I says, I think the board right this minute should pass a resolution that non-yacht club members who own boats, but who would like to do their boarding at the yacht club will be welcome to do so. And our restrooms will be open, as well as the rest of the yacht club, to extend a little hospitality to any non-yacht club members who would like to board from the yacht club. So we got a license to steal. The red carpet has been rolled out to anybody who would like to do their boarding at the yacht club.
Is there going to be a sign up for you guys on that? Do you want me to put a sign up on my site so you know who? Because I don't want, like, 100 people showing up and you got room for 50.
Well, my understanding is Pat's doing that. Yeah, we're not, I'm
Okay.
not coordinating, the club's not coordinating, available boats. I know Pat's doing that. My main thing was just to make sure that, there might be people who trailer launch their boats, or it's hard for people to get down their gangway to their boat, so for those people, they could just tell everybody, meet me at King Harbor Yacht Club, and they could load there.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So we'll get that link and the information out as we move forward. It's roughly 3 weeks? Oh wow, it's only like 3 weeks away from now. It's things are happening fast. Things are moving fast. We got a community council meeting tomorrow night. And yeah, let's see here. All right, let's see. On the agenda, let's see. Let's see here. All right, let's see. 4th of July fireworks. Staying in the harbor, we will be having a fireworks show in the harbor on 4th of July. It is set up for a new company that we are using. They're really expensive because no other company wants to do fireworks in LA County because there's a new water board permit. So we're spending $115,000, including the barge. And the barge is coming out of Long Beach. It'll be dropped off in Redondo Harbor, and we'll have our fireworks show, our normal city sponsored fireworks show. There will not be a fireworks show in the Riviera Village. That's not happening this year, but we are doing a fireworks show in the harbor. So it's a Thursday, I believe. 4th of July is on a Thursday, so we got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and as 4th of July weekend. So yeah, that'll be fun. Let's see what else is going on in the harbor. Harbor also has dredging that's going on in the harbor. We have it's been delayed by a few weeks. There's been some technical issues with the dredging device. The company that was hired, they had some breakdown that got fixed, so they're still down there. I just saw them dredging away in the harbor. Let's see, police. Let's see. We talked about this in my community meeting in person. The police is requesting a $17 million police firing range, and they want us to move forward with this. And the federal government will pay 70% of that bill, leaving us with roughly a $5 million bill for this. So specifically the U.S. Air Force, they came to our council meeting about 2-3 weeks ago, and a couple weeks ago, and they said, hey, we'd like to convert your current firing range to a nice big firing range, federal firing range, federal qualifications. If you guys pay $5 million, we'll pay $12 million. And yeah, the problem with the $5 million is we don't have the $5 million. But it passed at a 3-2 vote to move forward with it. We're going to spend $550,000 on design for this firing range. The motion that passed was to direct staff to look for county and federal funds or other funds to find and see if we can pay for the $5 million on our side through the funds. Maybe there's matching funds. Councilmember Lowenstein and I both said no to this. We have enough distractions right now we're dealing with in the city. We got a lot of other things. In fact, we'll get to the fire department issue. This is Our firefighters, I'm only gonna jump ahead of myself. I'll just say that the firefighters, and what they live in, our buildings, the city hall needs to get redone, the fire department needs to get redone, the buildings need to get redone. We have a lot of infrastructure that hasn't been looked at in years. So I am not in any way, shape, or form supportive of building a $17 million firing range in Redondo Beach when we don't even have the ability to properly house our firefighters right now, or fix City Hall. And if you look at our parks need work. The harbor is a whole different issue. We're spending a ton of money down there, millions of dollars. In fact, we just on the agenda for tomorrow night is a bid for $1.3 million to redo the international boardwalk. It came in $1 million in their budget, which is great. And we're moving forward with a lot of different projects in the harbor. We got the boat launch ramp, $5-6 million, $8 million. That the state will be paying for that. That's all moving on a different timetable. But when it comes to the infrastructure at City Hall, the police station, public works yards, no one ever talks about public works yards. Those things are just completely falling apart, and they're old. And I truly believe that we don't have the money, and we don't have the money, we don't have the bandwidth to be able to pursue a project like a massive firing range. And if we had the money, we had the time, 100% supportive. Hey, great, let's jump on board, especially when the federal government's going to be paying us $12 million. But my perspective is, why aren't we looking at less than lethal tactics and methods and training, and see what other cities are doing? What we're currently doing right now? Why is that inadequate? Why, the current fire range does need to be upgraded and updated. 100% agree with that. It's an old outdoor firing range, and it needs to be fixed. I couldn't agree more with that. But at the same time, we need to, do a real inventory of all the needs that we have here in Redondo, which has been a can that's been kicked down the road for 20, 30 years. I have a quote from at the time, it was Fire Chief Ost about in Daily Breeze in 2002 about the fire stations have outlived their useful lifespans. So yeah, it's not something I support Redondo doing right now. It's a big deal that we voted on that to support that. I don't agree with it at all. We have a lot of other things we could be spending our money on in Redondo of vital interest. Let's see here. Charter change, Article 27. Let's see here. So going back to state law, the state is forcing us to do more housing in Redondo Beach through what's coming the Regional Housing Needs Association allocation process, RENA process. We've had to zone for a net new 3,400 units. They gave us a number of 2,400 units, and in order for us to get to that number within the different levels that they have in there, they are requiring us to basically zone for 3,400 units. And that's a big number. It's a big issue. We don't have the room. We don't have the infrastructure for this. We're dense enough. And they're going to the power plant site. There was a lawsuit filed, 2 lawsuits by the person that currently own the or allegedly trying to own the power plant site. He filed what's called developers remedy lawsuit, 2 of them, and we won both of them. Big deal, just like the SB9 lawsuit. Big deal that we won it. But the problem is, it created an issue. One judge said that our housing element was effective on July 5th, the day the council voted on this, and it went to the state and they certified it September 9th. And the judge said that state housing law usurps our local control, so Measure DD, what I was referring to earlier regarding SB9. Well, that basically has said, we don't have to have a vote of a Measure DD to the people to change our zoning, because the judge said, hey, state housing law usurps Measure DD in our local housing laws. There was the other lawsuit developer's remedy from the guy that's buying the same property, filed 2 of them. The other judge said, well, you still need to take it to a vote of the people, but the problem is you're lucky because you have a local coastal plan through the Coastal Commission, and because you have this, it's not effective in the this particular plan is not effective since you're in the coastal zone. But you have an issue here on how if it needs to go to the vote of the people. One judge says you do, one judge says you don't. We said to the Housing Community Development, which is the state of California, and said that we're going to take this to the state, to the vote of the people. We had a meeting in a few weeks ago that basically said, if we change Measure DD, which is Article 27 of our city charter, and say that we don't need to take this to a vote of the people, that will fix this whole problem between the 2 different court cases, between what we said to the state of California, HCD, and that will kind of solve all of this and prevent any further actions in the harbor and from at the land use on the power plant site from any type of further action regarding these developer remedy projects. Now, we've directed city attorney to come up with some language and include a sunset clause on this particular language and to do an update on this. It all gets really complicated really quickly. So I'm not going to get into further details unless you guys have questions. So we'll go to the see a bunch of comments here, but the comments are all about the PD, and there's a lot of comments on here regarding PD and the less lethal and training on the guns and shooting and using de-escalation. Yep, yeah, it's yes, we are being sued by the way from the city of Torrance. So that's an issue for the police shooting range, but that's off topics. Anyways, going back to what's going on here. Let's see here. If we don't have any other comments, I'll see on Facebook regarding Measure DD. This is going to be a big deal for us moving forward in Redondo. Seeing what we're going to be doing with this. Let's see here. Let's see. We had our mid-year budget at the 3rd meeting in March. Like first meeting in April, excuse me. And what is this mid-year budget? Basically says we are having fantastic revenues, but our expenses are higher than expected. All things being said, we have roughly $600,000 in as of December 31st that we are under budget. So because we have record revenues, our expenses that we've been spending so far are under by $600,000. So hopefully that continues moving forward. We won't get the final bill for this until September of this year, because the way our budget cycle works is we approve the budget at the end of June, last meeting in June, and come July 1 is when the new budget takes into effect. And it takes about a month or 2 months to get all the receipts in, whether it's expense receipts and things that have been paid off, or expenses that are coming in, or income, so property taxes, sales taxes, and the like. And when that happens, well, after August-ish, right in there, we can get our final budget around September, October, that kind of equalizes and says, okay, this is how we did last year. So it takes a few months for that to happen. We have a new budgeting system that is that we're working on, that we're using this year. So it will be much easier to produce budgets, much quicker to produce budgets. And it's something that I've been pushing for line item budgeting. Our OpenGov has not been working, and we've been updating that. And that is something that I've been pushing for a long time, because we've literally been taking the way we create a budget in Redondo is we export values out of our database, and we put it in Excel, and we import it into an Excel file sheet, and we start messing around with it in Excel, and then we import it back into our budget. And that is a very messy, old school way of doing the budgeting. We have a new system in place we're working on, and that will be in place this year. So let's see here. Next thing up, we've got coastal parking restrictions. The decision was made at our last council meeting, I believe, last week, on Redondo, to add coastal parking restrictions of overnight parking on that first block between PCH and South Gertruda, right where the power lines are at. There's a long kind of road there, and right now there's free parking, and there is no parking restrictions, so you can park there overnight. What's been happening is people have been parking there overnight. People have been parking there for days on end, and that's coming to an end. So commercial people who are parking there commercially, as well as people living in their vehicles, have been parking there in this way. Now, noticing and proving this, we can enforce a no parking zone in this area from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. I believe it is 1 to 6 a.m. And so putting this in place and not doing parking meters. There was an idea of maybe putting parking meters there. The problem with parking meters is we're not going to collect the revenue that we necessarily are going to collect. And that's number one. But actually, say there's no number one. The other reason, and what to me the number one is, why we need to pay for force people to pay for parking everywhere in the coastal zone. I mean, this is one of the last 3 places in the coastal zone that you don't have to pay for parking. So it's that area. It's kind of over where the Catalina Coffee is, in that little sub area, and then over on Catalina on the Esplanade, right where it kind of comes up by Veterans Park. That's free parking there, and that's kind of the only 2 or 3 places. In fact, I would even say Catalina Coffee has free parking. You have meters right there. But yeah, we charge parking everywhere in the city, and it's expensive. And we don't charge the residents that live here. We charge the people who come to visit our coastline. And as someone who's big defender of the coastal zone and access for all, that's not very welcoming or business friendly when you have parking in the Riviera Village and these other areas. It doesn't bring people in. They'd rather go to places like Torrance where you don't have to pay to park. So that's coming up for that area. Let's see, logo contest. Parking meters on our TJ. Yeah, no, thank you. So the designs are out. I will share some of the designs. And let's see here. Let me open up the images so that you guys can see. I'll share my screen. If you haven't, it's on the website, but I will give you a here are here are the designs. So we're starting off at the first one, and I'm going to go through these real quick. I'm not going to make a comment on what I like or not. I will be putting out a poll on these on my website, so you guys can all jump on board and see it. Will have a little token on there. Make sure only one vote per email address, so not what happened to the city. And some of these are concepts which will not include. And to give you a quick history on this, excuse me, thank you. Sorry about that. This started a few years ago, about a year ago. Excuse me. We hired someone to do a design, and the reason why was because after we got done with our travel and tourism board, they did a fantastic job with their logo and their design, and they had a great branding. And we looked at our branding in Redondo Beach, which has been around for 20 something years, 23 years. And we don't actually own the logo to Redondo Beach. Everyone sees the old school logo that we have. We don't own that logo. The Chamber of Commerce owns that logo. And by updating this logo and refreshing our brand, we'll actually be able to own our logo. And we can do what Hermosa Beach did was we'll be able to sell product and sell shirts and t-shirts and license it out if we want to. Currently, our current logo is not licensable. We don't own that, so anyone can use that. In fact, that came up in the election of 2015, 2017 about who owns the brand. That logo can just be used anywhere. This is a refresh of the old logo. And anyone that turned in a logo, this is now become property of the city of Redondo Beach. So we will need to check to make sure that we have full rights to these logos, and make sure someone just didn't use a logo and that they don't actually own. It's maybe someone else owns it. But these are some of the designs that have come through. I love the way how some people have taken their logo and actually applied the logo to artwork and to shirts and to sides of vehicles and business cards and memos and paperwork. So one of the things that came up as this image properly shows, and the person that we hired says that, you know, all of our different departments, like you see the fire department, they have a different logo than the public works, which is used the city seal, which is different than the different department or parks and rec department. And you know, our street signs are different, and you know, it's not consistent. And by not having consistency, you don't have a consistent brand. People, it's not recognizable. People don't see something and say, ah, that's Redondo Beach. You know, when the different departments use a different logo, it's confusing to the residents, it's confusing to the people who owns what, and nobody owns anything. So this is our way to move forward to have a consistent design in Redondo. And let's see here. There's some really good ones in here, and there's people that I did it as a joke. We will be returning to the council in May, I believe. First meeting in May. And with all the council members will choose their favorite logo, and we will see, we'll come up with an ad, with the best one that we think. We'll vote on what we think is best. The logo design person, the lady who did her design, she updated the one that she had with a couple of updates. Actually, one update, I should say. Sorry. Yeah, some of these are really cool. You know, some of these are really complex. Like this one's complex, but it's really nice. I mean, it's, you know, it's a lot of time went into this for people, and I really want to, you know, thank everyone for adding their designs and taking the time to go through this. You know, some people really spent some thought-provoking ideas. So let's see here, we'll pass over these. The whale tail, this is really cool. This person did a whale tail, and you can see this is a sail in here representing sail, and you see the pier and this design on the right hand side, a wave, right? Redondo Beach 1892, that's when we were founded, incorporated. So yeah, a lot of really cool ideas that people have had. Councilmember Baji said this is a great Palos Verdes logo, which is, I find funny because that's the logo, that's what you see off the Esplanade. This is very indicative of that, with a little ugly fence in the bottom. Yeah, so let me just, how many should we have left here? Got a lot here. So let me check. Let me stop the screen share. You guys got any comments? Probably over this, that's fine. Let's see here. Why not let the community decide, Gil? You know, good question. There's a lot more here on these logos. I don't want to go through them all. We got other things to take care of. I'm gonna have a poll and let you guys decide, give your input on it. Let's see here. I want you guys to be nice to each other in the chat. I see you guys getting very snippety. You know, we got cannabis on the agenda tomorrow night. Consent calendar. Relax, bro. I'll just say this. We got cannabis on the agenda tomorrow night. Skipping ahead. It's just an update. Remember, I've been saying this over and over again. Expect District 1 along PCH or Riviera Village to have a lot of applications. I expect Artesia Boulevard to have applications. A lot of interest in Redondo Beach with having cannabis. And there is a consent calendar item H8, I believe it is, that talks about the current update from the consultant that we hired, Tierra West. So I don't see any comments on any of this stuff. Joe and Irvine, do you have a public comment you want to make right now? I know you always want to talk about it, or you want to wait till later. You can raise your hand if you want, but otherwise I'll be moving. Wait until tomorrow. Okay. There you go. So let's see here. Fire department review. So we had a meeting. What was it, a week ago at the council regarding our fire department. So anyone that's been following what's been happening in our fire department and Redondo Beach, to give you a quick recap, you know, when I got elected in 2017, I had no idea what was going on in our fire department, other than what I've heard. And jumping into the council position, I started asking a bunch of questions. We had a lot of issues that I was looking at and uncovering and realizing, what's going on here in our fire department? And through the years, we had to deal with COVID, and COVID really showed me that we are unprepared for disaster. We didn't apply for FEMA funding. All these other cities like Culver City were applying for FEMA funding left, right, and center and getting money back from the federal government. We weren't doing any of that. We weren't getting our CERT team moving forward. CERT is the community response team. They go through a class and they get educated on how to respond and how they can be best utilized during a disaster. Because a small community like us, Redondo Beach, if we had a disaster, an earthquake, we don't have the ability to properly respond like a bigger city like LA City does. And we have to work together with our partners. And so we rely on volunteers. And to that point, you know, we started going over getting a quote from the county and to understand what's it going to take to move us to the next level in terms of services. And that was in 2019. And when COVID hit, like I was just saying, all these other things were exposed. And one thing I really want to bring out and tell everyone that, you know, just over the course of the last year, so a year from today, we've had significant issues. We've paid out a $1.9 million. We had a settlement agreement for a lawsuit that was filed against us, and rather than going to trial, we paid $1.9 million. And that's so we wouldn't go to trial on this. And we paid it because, you know, we didn't have the proper documentation on our training. We didn't have a proper documented system. It wasn't computerized. This day in Redondo, or last year, we didn't have a quality documentation system. A year ago in Redondo, we only had one backup fire engine that was 21 years old. And the other backup engine caught on fire at midnight and had to be taken out of service. Our firefighters live in buildings that are built in the 1950s and haven't had massive renovations since then. We've renovated them, but we haven't fixed them properly. They're not up to ADA standards. They're not up to earthquake standards, and we don't have proper dorms for women. These are all big problems that we're attacking and dealing with right now. And we underpay our employees. Anyone who's been watching the news or reading the newspapers, we paid out, or we are now paying or signing, I should say, record contracts with city employees. So Public Works 10% raise, boom, right off the bat. And then they get subsequent raises 5%, 5%, with bumps and different steps because they're so underpaid. Public Professionals Supervisory Association, PSA, they got a 5.5%, 6% bump, and they got 3, 4, 5% next couple of years. And police, they got a 6% raise a year ago. We're handing out record raises, and we're in the middle of a contract negotiation with the firefighters right now, and they're underpaid too compared to other cities. These are all benchmarks that we do in comparison to other cities. So in looking at all of this, we got to kind of face the facts here in Redondo with what we're doing in Redondo. Our 911 system has gone out multiple times in the course of the last year. So when you call 911, someone made a comment that, oh, it's busy if you go to the county. Well, at least it's busy. The problem is Redondo, it might not be there. So this is infrastructure that has been 20, 30 years on as an issue. We have record revenues in Redondo Beach. We have also record expenses in Redondo Beach. And we also do not have the infrastructure to support increasing the size of our fire department. This report that has come out recently said you need to move one of the fire engines to the harbor from Fire Station 2 in North Redondo. The problem with that is the fire station in the harbor isn't big enough for a fire engine. You have to do a ton of work to it. And they didn't come out and say how much it would be, how much it would cost. They didn't come out and say how much the refurbishing our fire stations would be. But these are the things that we need to address. And again, going back to the conversation a few minutes ago that I had that you guys were talking about in the chat all over the place, was the city brought forward, executive level staff brought forward a proposal to build us a $17 million police firing range with $5 million of Redondo Beach money. So I just simply ask and say, how do we get a $5 million we put into police firing range for a total of $17 million? How is this coming to the council? But on the fire department side, they don't get anything, and for upgrades from their firehouses. Councilmember Lowenstein and I bought the fire department an extra fire engine last year during budget season. They didn't ask for extra fire engine last year during the budget cycle. They didn't ask for documentation and software and a budget line item for documenting training and documenting online training, documenting a whole host of other issues that would solve a lot of these things. They did ask for a training captain, the first time that they've actually asked for a training captain. For years, I've been saying, why don't we have a training captain? We lose so many firefighters. We have to train so many new firefighters. We should have a training captain. City staff said over and over and over and over again that we don't need that. Well, we just settled a lawsuit that we wouldn't have to go to trial for $1.9 million. Clearly, we did need it, right? So the chief asked for roughly $1 million worth of funding requests. Councilmember Lowenstein and I fought really hard to get $2.2 million of funding in addition in total for the fire department. We spent a lot of money last year, and luckily we did, because within a month, at the end of July, early August, the second backup fire engine that we had in Redondo went out. They did an oil change on it, and they had metal shards in there, and they had to take the fire engine out of service, which means we were left with no backup fire engines, which means we had to call our neighbors Manhattan Beach, which we've been doing for over a year now, is borrowing fire engines from a neighboring city. That to me is absolutely inexcusable. The Number one job we have as a fire department is to have available resources to be able to put water on a fire. And that is completely inappropriate. If it wasn't, and let's be honest with everyone, if you go back and look at the video last year, Councilmember Lowenstein worked really hard. We worked really hard on that budget, and we had to go toe to toe with Councilmember Abaji and Councilmember Barrett because they were fighting for 2 more police officers. They didn't know about all these other issues that were happening in our fire department, and we had to balance what all these competing needs, right? Fire marshal, training positions, new fire engines, online software, and upgrades to the fire stations, like a new roof and new windows. These are all line items that we put in there, Councilmember Lowenstein and I, and it caused a huge strife between us. You go back and watch it, everyone says, "Wow, you guys really got into it." Yeah, we were fighting for a fire department to fix the problems and errors of the past. It's important to me that we expose the problems, that we come up with solutions, we find the cost of the solutions, and then we figure out the third step is how are we going to pay for this. And what I want to know from the public is, how much are you willing to pay out of your property taxes or sales taxes per year more to be able to pay for these infrastructure upgrades? And this is, to me, what comes down to the line is, how much do you want to pay as a resident to upgrade these facilities, to have our fire stations or city hall up to snuff, to be able to pay our employees what we need to so we don't have employees leaving left, right, and center. That's what it comes down to for me, having everything on the table and understanding what our needs are, and not putting on the table a police firing range and a drone system that's the first in the nation, that is a new tool and a new toy, but at the same time, we're not funding our firefighters and saying we can do everything. Well, clearly we can't. Just so everyone knows, the school district is putting up a $300-something million bond in Redondo Beach for their school infrastructure. I just got notified that Beach City's health district is putting up a $35 million bond for them and their infrastructure they have. And so something I've been pushing for a long time at Redondo Beach, saying, where is our infrastructure? Where are we currently at in our infrastructure, Redondo Beach? What do we need to fix? How much do we need to fix? What's it going to take to fix it? What do we need to build to be able to grow Redondo and move Redondo forward? Because when we're going to hire more employees, we got to put those employees in places. And we need to understand this. That was due in February. It's still not back yet. City staff still hasn't provided that yet. And if you ask me, it's going to outline that our fire stations need to be completely redone and rebuilt. And Manhattan Beach just rebuilt their fire station number 2, which houses 1 fire engine and a backup fire engine. Fire station number 2 in Redondo Beach houses 2 fire engines and a paramedic squad. So the fire station in Manhattan Beach cost $10 million, $9 million roughly to build, and $1 million in planning and architectural designs. They paid for that out of the $7 million bond, $1.5 million from COVID ARPA funds, and the rest $1.5 million came from their general fund. They started that in September of 2017, and they just did the ribbon cutting ceremony in December. Now, COVID brought them behind by some time, a year or so. But at the end of the day, they spent $10 million on a new fire station. And what are we doing in Redondo? That's the question I've been asking. I trying to get the answer to that, and we need to have that information on the table to make a good quality decision. And I'll just say it now, when we start talking at our city council on May 21st is when this item's supposed to be coming back. I want to know from people. You can send me an email, put it in your chat right now. How much do you want to spend out of your current taxpayer dollars, your percentage wise, out of our $105 million budget? Currently spend 23% out of our budget for the fire department, 62% in total for the police and fire combined. Should we be spending more? How much do you want to spend in property taxes? and sales taxes in Redondo Beach for these upgrades? Do you want to spend nothing? Do you want to spend $300 a year, $400 a year, $100 a month? These are the questions that we need to be asking ourselves and saying, because our infrastructure needs upgrades. So I'm going to move on from this conversation and move on to other items. I see you guys are all fighting in the chat and making comments. I will say this. I will vote for police and fire bond before school bond. Thank you, Anna. I really appreciate that. That's what I'm thinking a lot of people would be willing to do. And that's what we need to beat them to the punch, so to speak. We need to do this. In fact, real quick, I will say this. I've been doing some research histories. I can't find anyone that knows the last time the city of Redondo Beach had a city bond to pay for infrastructure upgrades. I just don't know. I don't know when that was. No one. I talked to people in the 90s, and they don't know. I talked to people involved in the city in the early 90s, and they don't remember or know anything. So since the mid 2000s, the school district went for a massive bond, which upgraded their schools. Luckily, they did that because they have 3,600, 3,500 students at the high school in Redondo Beach Unified there at the main high school. And we have similar needs, and way more needs, not similar. We have way more desperate needs in Redondo Beach. So yeah, and of course BCAG is asking for 35 million. So, I'll just leave that there. Let's see, Metro Green Line update. If anyone has Mark Hansen, your hand is up.
Sure. Thanks, Niels. Before we leave the fire department report that we got, they put in some recommendations. By the way, somebody's not muted.
Yeah, I'm going through right now and change the view and mute them. Yeah, go for it.
There we go. At any rate, both the administrative report and the consultant's own report acknowledged that they hadn't really done any kind of organizational review of the Harbor Patrol, and what they were putting in there was just based on seeing some documents and talking to some people. That's probably where they should have. I don't want to be impolite. Should have stopped talking. Okay.
Yeah.
If you acknowledge you don't know what you're talking about, don't make recommendations. But they proceeded to make several recommendations, one of which you mentioned, which was trying to move an engine from Station 2 to Station 3, the Harbor Patrol. And those of us who've been around for years just rolled our eyes when we read that. We've had this discussion before. We've been told by all the experts that would be a horrible idea. It's a narrow lane out of there with parking on both sides, children, dogs, and dock carts going back and forth. Our existing Harbor Patrol has a policy that they leave out of there without lights and sirens. They just slowly drive out to keep everybody safe if they got to go help inland. So that was an embarrassingly bad thing to put into to print. And in fact, twice in their documents, they said that the Harbor Patrol and Baywatch were currently out on a wharf. And oh my God, the boating community just looked at that and just couldn't believe, if you don't know what you're talking about, don't type anything. Okay. And then of course they wanted to revisit the idea of Baywatch, but without any real analysis. We can't obviously have Baywatch who's down the coast doing what they do up and down the coast be responsible for babysitting King Harbor. They're wonderful and they help when they're here. And finally, they put things in about using private contractors in the harbor. And, we've heard that 20 years ago when we had to explain to a city manager at the time that no, vessel assist cannot come from Delray and save anybody's lives. So, this was all stuff we've already talked about. And so, I just want to relate to you, Niels, the boating community is really rolling their eyes that these people even bothered to put their fingers on the keyboard when they acknowledged that they hadn't really done the work.
Mark, I'm so glad you said something about that. I'll tell you right now, the other aspect of what you just said is they don't know what they're talking about. And to me, it puts the whole report up in question, because I asked him a lot of questions which he couldn't answer. And he answered in ways that clearly showed they were skewed. And to your point, he he showed all the places that the Harbor Patrol were responding to, and he showed a bunch of cities in places inland on the Esplanade and inside of Redondo that they responded to, and said, "Well, I don't." And Mayor Light asked him, "Well, what about in the harbor? Where how many? Where do you respond to in the harbor? What's the places that you respond to in the harbor?" And he says, "Oh, well, the information doesn't have that. I couldn't get that information because the Harbor Patrol doesn't actually track that. You know, they never put a little button that says the GPS coordinates." Well, you know, the fact that he said that shows he just doesn't know what he's talking about at all.
Yep.
CAD systems, which are the computer aided dispatch systems, yes, they don't take lat long inputs. That is 100%. They take street addresses. So when they show up on scene or they show up to an incident, they kind of look at, okay, well, there's Avenue C. So that's Avenue C on the Esplanade. So that's the 1400 block of the Esplanade. So that's what we're going to put our address down. State paperwork, when you fill out these kinds of logs and you report them through what's called the infer system and other systems, they ask for the lat long, the GPS location. So it is there. They have the information. You just didn't get it. So by you admitting and saying what you said, you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to the harbor. But I will ask you this, Mark. I want to know from this, one of the things the report did say, and I've heard this a lot of other places, and I've actually heard a lot of people talk about this before, is returning Harbor Patrol to what it was in the past, which was its own separate harbor department. And that was before they merged in with the fire department. And so I want to know from you, Mark, what do you feel about returning the Harbor Patrol to its own department, having its own Harbor Patrol, and they're on there 24/7 or whatever it is, 12-hour days, whatever it is? How do you feel about that, rather than taking it out of the fire department?
Yeah, I am a strong supporter of that. Back in 1999, when the current mayor asked us to form the King Harbor Boaters Advisory Panel, and we started to try to get ourselves educated to give that advice, one of the things that we asked ourselves was, well, who's in charge of the harbor? And embarrassingly, the answer was no one. Okay. We said, well, there was something called a harbor director, now called Waterfront and Economic Director. And for the last 24 years I've been involved, we've said, you know, these have been great, wonderful people often, but zero experience in running harbors. They're the lease babysitters. They're out collecting the rents. And then we says, oh, okay, well, there's a thing called a harbor master. Maybe he's in charge. Well, that was just the most senior harbor patrol officer. Great guys, you know, but not really in charge of running the harbor. And then we went to the Harbor Commission, you know, and we saw that they were in charge of conditional use permits and do, again, great people in all three areas, but no single person in charge of the harbor. And so, yes, I'm a strong supporter of looking at a standalone harbor department where we go out and we hire somebody to be a new harbor director whose experience is in managing harbors.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. David Epstein, you have your hand up. Let me just finish another comment right now with what Mark, thank you very much for confirming what I think a lot of people are thinking, which is, let's take the Harbor Patrol and move them to outside of the fire station. One of the things that you said a while ago was you don't want the Harbor Patrol guys at Station 1 or at the hospital. That takes away from the harbor. And
Yep.
I heard that, I understand that, and I think to your point just now, when we start looking at this, the idea of returning Harbor Patrol to what it was, to working harbor, is going to be really important. Mr. David Epstein, you are up.
Hey, this is my first call with you. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Quick question about just a general guideline about the tax question, about how much we'd spend. Just a general, is there anything that the council can do to drive accountability in when we go out and spend money on things like roads, right? And within 2 months, the roads have fallen apart. Like, how about a more efficient way to spend money? Like, hold the people and the contractors that build these things accountable for what I've seen is a huge decrease in the quality of what we spend really good top dollars on. Is there anything that the council can do to drive more accountability to the subcontractors? Because I don't think they're held accountable. You go to we spend all this money and just things fall apart, right? Are there warranties as part of the contract?
Yeah, that's a big question to unpack. I love the thinking. I saw a comment in here, and just so everyone knows that, I am in no favor of raising taxes. I'm in no favor of going down the bond route unless we absolutely critically have to, and there's no other choice. And if the choice that we want to do everything on our own moving forward. And we want to be, Manhattan Beach doesn't do everything on their own. They have a county library there, and they have an $11 million surplus. I want to move down every possible path to see what we can possibly do to squeeze money everywhere, from cutting expenses to being more efficient to taking new revenues and putting it off the side so that we can do these upgrades. The question of holding people accountable, and yes, we have guarantees. Councilmember Lowenstein pulled an $80,000 roof project, which is more money than we're spending on our fire stations, by the way. Just that one roof project for the police fire station substation on the pier is more money than we're spending on, or roughly the same money we're spending on one of our fire stations this year. There's a guarantee on that, and Councilmember Lowenstein pulled that because he's like, hey, what's the guarantee? What's it, 20 years, 25 years? Why is it so expensive? When it comes to roads, we have depends upon the roads. I'll tell you right now, we actually have really good quality roads, way better than Torrance. Torrance relies on projects that commercial projects, residential projects to redo their roads. We spend a lot of money. We've actually changed and converted the way we're doing. Before we used to always do grind and replace. So we're replacing a road, we grind it down and put a new layer of asphalt. Instead of doing that now, what we're doing is putting a slurry seal on top. Roads get hit really hard with traffic and development. And that's one of the reasons why we have to be careful about how we develop, make sure our development pays for the infrastructure upgrades that are required, like roads. Sidewalks. We instituted a program about 2 years ago, sidewalk grinding in Redondo Beach. $160,000 a year that we're paying a contractor to go through and literally grind down sidewalks. It's more than a half an inch in size. Sounds stupid, but we get hit every single year with claims and lawsuits related to sidewalks. These sidewalks are old in Redondo Beach. I mean, they're 50 years old, they're 60 years old. We are spending a lot of money on infrastructure, roads. We've kept it at a certain level because if you let the roads fall to a below certain level, like Avenue I did, you have to end up doing a lot more work. They have guarantees. We've done a great job with getting state funds for roads. It's funny you talk about and you ask the question about holding people accountable, because I find that city staff holds private businesses and residences more accountable to the work that they do on sidewalks and roads than they do for themselves. In fact, or utilities. All the time, if you walk over a sidewalk in Redondo and there's asphalt there, that's because someone did a patchwork, and you need to report that to the city council member, your city, you Comcate Redondo, and whoever did that asphalt patch needs to come back and do a concrete patch. Sometimes the work that you're talking about is not the city doing it, it's the utilities coming in and doing the work. That's a really long-winded way of saying it depends upon what repair is being done. And before we go out and bond, I want to make sure or sales tax increase or fee increase. We're doing everything we can to squeeze every dollar out of everywhere, Redondo. So I see some questions here regarding the fire department. Some people have said, let's see here. What's the problem with county fire? One of the, going back to this report and the fire stations, the harbor patrol. So I asked the consultant, he studied in North Redondo about Hawthorne and Lawndale coming into Redondo Beach for fire and paramedic services, and showed what their sphere of influence would be. But he did not actually produce a report for Hermosa and Palos Verdes Estates. They are recommending that we put a fire engine from Station 2 down in the harbor so that that fire engine can respond to calls in the central portion of the city. Well, who would be able to get there fastest? Fire station over at Hermosa, which is a paramedic and engine there, that engine company or paramedic squad, or coming out of the harbor. And Mark Hansen just said, when you come out of the harbor, you got to go really slow through there. PV Estates, 1.8, 2 miles in from PV Estates, hits roughly just past Avenue E on PCH. These are the outskirts of the city that we need to be concerned about. We did a lot of zoning with high density housing in North Redondo and the Tech District along the 405. Those are all areas that would be serviced on the outskirts. At the end of the day, this conversation to me is about looking forward and understanding that the firefighters, whether you go county, whether you go city, all have the same level of qualifications and training. State and federal training and county training are all exactly the same. So it's about response times and resources and ability to fix what we have. What's it going to cost to go down these different pathways? I saw a question in here. Just so everyone knows, Manhattan Beach, we call Manhattan Beach a lot for resources for Redondo Beach, from fire engines to paramedics. Anytime we have a fire, we have to call them because we don't have enough personnel in Redondo Beach. We have to call outside services, outside agencies. And it's not about, I see a lot about these conversations about city lines. This is all a working system. It's not about artificial lines where a fire, the consultant correctly identified having your fire stations in the optimum place. He claims and says that, oh yeah, well, Redondo Beach has the optimal locations for the density maps. Well, the density maps are wrong that you were using. That's the first thing I'm going to say. And it's not about density maps. It's about where are the calls happening. And if you were to redesign Redondo Beach, if you were only within Redondo Beach, you'd have one at Beach City's Health District. Remember, Beach City's Health District, it has a proposal for housing, right? And that type of housing they want to do has increase in calls. And that same thing is Kensington. And would you put in fire just the 2 engines and the paramedic squad at Fire Station 2? Or would you break that up? Councilmember Barrett correctly identified and said, why not put another fire station or a place where you can put paramedic squad during the day up in North Redondo? It's a great question. Why not? What's the cost on that? So, these are things that we need to go down the path of. I really think that our commissions, my motion, which did not pass, and did get a second, was to send this report and this conversation to a public safety commission, number 1. Number 2 is a harbor commission, our public works commission, and our budget and finance commission. And it's not necessarily about the report itself. I want to get this very clear to everyone. It's not about the report itself. It's about the problems, what I said at the very beginning, the problems that we're having on top. Number 2, the solutions with the costs identified. And then number 3, how are we going to be able to pay, or how are we going to implement these particular solutions? So that's where I'm at with this. I think our commissions to do a bond, if we were doing a bond, has to go through this entire process. If we raise taxes, we have to go through this entire process. If we want to keep things the way they are with our current funding, well, then we have to split up our budget differently. We have a $106 million, $105 million budget, record budget. How much more in our current budget are we going to spend? on fire department versus police versus our parks versus human resources versus the harbor. These are definitely the questions that we all need to be asking and answering and going down the path, because at the end of the day, this is a long-term decision and not a short-term decision. So let me jump into the questions or comments regarding the bonding and the study. It's just arguing the study seems to suggest that Redondo we end up paying more for less, according to the April 16. So this is why I want to send this particular report to the Budget Finance Commission. Last time we had this, the report said the same thing regarding our costs for insurance. We were self-insured. The report here that says that they're banking on says we'll be spending $800,000 a year in claims, so workers' compensation claims, injury claims, back injury, long-term health, all these different things. $800,000 for the next 10 years, straight across the board. That's $8 million. So this study says, oh, it's $14 million more expensive. This $800,000 represents $8 million per year. Well, the Budget and Finance Commission looked at this and says, no, that's malarkey. That's absolutely not true at all. In fact, the year after something like this happened, or a transition, if it were to happen, that the claims go down. And we see that with other aspects in the city, and it's all very reproducible. Budget Finance Commission needs to see this particular study, need to see everything, and they need to look at the pick apart the numbers and say, what do we have finances for moving forward? So revenues, potential revenues, what are coming online? How are we going to pay the employees? How are we going to be able to pay the infrastructure upgrades that we are required? Police department has a great police station. They've been upgrading that place, new carpet, new paint, new walls, new desks. They're getting great tools. But our fire department, on the other hand, they not so much. So that's what this call comes down to. So let me see. That chat is really active. I'm proud of you guys. If you guys want to jump on here and say anything, you're more than welcome to. I hate talking so much. I'm gonna give me a minute to drink some water. I don't see anything on Facebook this time. So unless I'm just not catching it, which could be too, but I don't see anything, any chats there. But on the Zoom chat, I see a lot of stuff coming through. I mean, why something you review Friday? Is this something?
I have a quick question.
Yeah, go for it.
Are you guys thinking about anything for the, I know it's way off, but you got to get in front of it if you want to do it. Why is Santa Monica getting the volleyball at the Olympics?
Oh, that's a great question. So the great changer. So thank you. Why is Santa Monica getting the volleyball for the Olympics? We're working on and trying to get the open water swimming event in Redondo Beach. There's the really short, compacted story on this is we started in 2018 with Mayor Brand to get the open water and there are other events in Redondo. What the Olympic Committee as a group has done is they've looked at the long-term impacts of hosting Olympics in countries that need to build infrastructure. And what they've found is that these cities that don't have the infrastructure that need to build the infrastructure ends up being a massive losing event, and they lose money. Brazil is a perfect example. Huge failure long-term. Short-term for them at that event, huge success, but it did not bring in the money, capital required. So the Olympic Committee did as a whole, they chose LA and Paris and said, you have the infrastructure, and you need to create a system where you can create as much value in your current infrastructure so you don't have to build things. And if you do build things, you build them temporary so that it isn't so expensive. So this can, over the long term, can be a success. So the LA Olympic Committee that won the bid came through and says, we're going to set up Santa Monica as a hub, Long Beach as a hub, downtown LA as a hub, all these different hubs all over the place, and we're going to combine multiple events. So Santa Monica, I know, has Yeah, they have the beach volleyball, and I'm not sure what else they have. They have a couple other things, I believe. Long Beach has open water swimming. They have triathlon. They have a biking event, I believe. They have water polo. They have swimming, and they're creating these hubs. And part of the reason why they're creating these hubs is they need to create a security infrastructure surrounding these hubs. If you have a bunch of events that are just separated out as a whole, you can't secure that, and they're worried about the security aspect. So that is as brief of a topic I can answer. I can give it to you on that. I think Redondo Beach, we have a fantastic opportunity with our harbor and sailing, open water, and the Esplanade, and hosting some of the other events. And I know Culver City. I've been talking to Culver City. These Olympics, they come through with other events, and certain cities have host play welcoming to host countries. So Culver City is working with New Zealand to be a host city for the country of New Zealand, and the Olympic Committee and house people who come from New Zealand, whether it's the athletes, their families, the media, and they create media hubs and associated hubs. And so I'm talking with a couple people over there and trying to get on those and trying to figure out. So that's a short of a long answer, but we're looking to do a hub in Redondo or get some sort of events, whether it's media or awards or become a host city for a certain country. So let's see here. Let's see. City is not one of the oh boy. You 4 more. Love this chat that's going on. This is the most interactive chat I have seen, I think I will say ever, in any Zoom meeting I've ever seen. This is the most interactive chat. People are using the @ symbol, they're using links. City of Bell scandal. Yeah, well, City of Bell had a whole bunch of other issues. All right. If there are any other questions, or just jump on now, I will move on to the next topic, whatever that may be. Let's see. That one. All right. Metro Green Line. Metro Green Line. So it was announced just yesterday that you are engaged, David. Thank you for being engaged. I really appreciate it. I think it's awesome. Just keep it clean, keep it nice. Don't get any hurt feelings. Don't try to hurt other people's feelings. Is all I say. Metro has announced that May 25th will be the decision day for the right-of-way or the Hawthorne Boulevard option. And that is going to be a big day. It's going through the commissions. The staff at Metro have. Oh, Nancy, I missed your message regarding the paramedic fee. Yes, if you call paramedics in Redondo Beach, you're going to get a $313 fee. I'm going to throw that in there right now. Throw that in the chat. Do you agree with a $313 fee for calling paramedics? Whether you call paramedics or somebody else calls paramedics on your behalf, you will get a $313 fee. I voted against it. I'm completely against that. But throw that in the chart. Maybe you guys can be engaged on that question, whether or not you want a fee there for that. So going back to Metro, they announced the Metro staff are recommending the hybrid right-of-way option for the Green Line extension, formerly known as Measure C. So what does that mean? It is not just a bad decision, a bad idea. That means they will be going partially underground, partially above ground. They will be digging down onto the gas lines, high pressure gas lines, natural gas lines, regular gas lines. They need to move the freight line closer to residences. It's just a bad decision. And oh, by the way, this particular decision means you will have less riders by 1 million people per year, less ridership on the right-of-way option. It is a horrible idea. It is horrible. It is a bad idea. So, we need to get people motivated to go down to the Metro board on the 25th and before then to write all of the, I believe all the LA County Commissioner, County Supervisors as well. There's 12 people in total. LA City Mayor Karen Bass, Mayor of Inglewood, Ed Butts is on there, and they will be deciding, and we want them to go down Hawthorne Boulevard. It will be cheaper to go down Hawthorne Boulevard than down the hybrid road. The hybrid option will be more expensive than the Hawthorne Boulevard option. Hawthorne Boulevard is a known. It is 1 million people per year in ridership. And oh, by the way, they get the South Bay Social District, 300 apartments. They're looking to do another 350 apartments at the South Bay Galleria. There's a direct connection. The drop-off point will be literally outside the front doors of the South Bay Social District, formerly known as South Bay Galleria. That's huge. That right there should be the #1 killer, or #1 vote. So, David Epstein, just so you know, no one has made a decision. Holly Mitchell is letting people know that decision coming up on May. The EIR, Environmental Impact Report, will be certified. They can, just so you know, they can certify the environmental impact report and not make a decision as to where they want to go with the right-of-way option, whether it's going to be right-of-way or Hawthorne Boulevard. So they can leave that decision for later. I suspect they're going to make a decision all in one follow swoop. So, are there any comments? Are there any people from North? I see one hand raised from Mark Hansen. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Go.
Yeah, Niels, your colleagues, Klujevic and Obagi held a joint meeting, as you know, over at the South Bay Social District. And at that meeting, it was fascinating to learn that Cataron, the people, putting together the whole South Bay Social District, had sent 2 letters in support of the Hawthorne option. On that, absolutely fascinating.
Yep. Thank you. And the reason why they sent those letters is because I was there at a meeting with them, and they said, well, what else do you guys need from us? I asked them when we were going through the process here with permitting. I said to them, what do you need from us to help move this forward? And they said, oh, we need this, and that. And they said to me, well, what do you need from us to help moving this forward? I said, well, #1, I need you guys to put in a letter to Metro saying that you have this project coming with potential housing, and that having a stop right in front of their front door for this particular project will be the best thing ever, because these people who live there will not require vehicles. We'll get vehicles off the road. It will be 20% affordable housing. Are more than willing to integrate Metro and give them some sort of a space to be able to do this, buy tickets to be able to go use the green line, or the C line that it is called now. So they sent that letter. They sent a follow-up letter, and it was well received by the staff. It was well received by some of the supervisors, and the final say will be on May 25th. I believe there's 12 voting members of the Metro board, all 5 supervisors, the mayor of LA City, Mayor Karen Bass, Ed Butts is on there. So it's important to talk to everyone.
Hey, I can't raise my hand, but
yes, Holly, there you go for it.
It's Thursday, May 23rd.
23rd. Thursday, May 23rd. Okay, sorry about that. Thursday, May 23rd. So yeah, there you go. All right. We're sending out lots of more emails on that moving forward. So let's see here. Shameless plug for our neighborhood voices. Online fundraiser update. If you missed the online fundraiser and update, I'm going to throw a link into the chat. You can watch the 30-something minutes, 32 minutes, I believe, as an update. And you click on that link, and that link will give you directly to the video. And you'll be able to see that. AWS is hold on. That link actually, hold on, my link might not work. Oh, maybe it did. Hold on. There it is. Mixed it on YouTube. Let me throw another link into the system. Oops, sorry for this. There you go. Throw another link up there for you guys. Let's see. All right. Other than that, we have Mayor Bill Brand's Memorial Paddleout on May 11th at 11 a.m. We have stuff for you to buy. We have the leis for 25 bucks. We have shirts, hats, sweaters to buy, and portion of the proceeds will go to the scholarship, Bill Brand Scholarship Fund. And you would rent your paddle boards at Olympus Paddleboard. They do business in the harbor. They will deliver some paddle boards there. And as Mark Hansen pointed out, there is possibly some boat rides available. All this information is on my council member page. I will throw that into the link right now before I'll do it right now so that we have there. And if anyone else has any other things they want to bring up, speak now. Questions, comments?
Where's the Metro board thing tomorrow?
No, on the 21st, it will be next month in downtown LA.
I mean, is it at the Metro offices?
Yes, the main
Okay.
building in Metro in downtown LA.
I'll be there.
Awesome, thank you.
May 23rd,
23rd.
Thursday.
I keep different dates. Tuesday the 21st is a city council meeting. Wednesday and then Thursday would be the meeting. And then 25th, I have an event on the 25th, so that's why I keep getting everything mixed up. We are using the same vendors for Long Beach, but not Marina Del Rey. I'm not sure, David, if Marina Del Rey, the vendor they use is LA County in Marina Del Rey. That is Zambelli Fireworks. I don't believe they are available. They said to us, I believe, that they will not be available to do our show. They were charging a ton of extra money because of the waterboard permit. No surprise there. Let's see here. And so we're using a company called Garden State Fireworks. They're based in New Jersey. If you know, everyone knows Garden State Fireworks because they are the company that shot the San Diego Bay fireworks in 2012. 4 barges. They shot 3 of them in 30 seconds. Yes, that was them. Based in New Jersey. They are out of state. So that is that issue. All the questions? If you have any other stuff, let me look at the chats, other places here. If we have anything else, I'm not sure. Got a lot done here. Let's see here. I think council items. Riviera Village. Nothing to report. Things are happening in Riviera Village. Harbor opening day was this last weekend for all of the yacht clubs, or actually for the Port Royal weekend. 2 weeks ago was the King Harbor Yacht Club opening day. And my next community meeting will be May 11th at 8:30 a.m. Veterans Park Senior Center. The in-person one, the online one will be determined after that. So if there's nothing else,
I have a question, Nils.
yes.
So my question is this, just to circle back to something, it's a minor thing, but that pickleball and the tennis courts at Alta Vista, is that like a dead thing now, or is that coming back?
Oh, no. Okay. It's a great question. I see actually, sorry, Nancy, you have your hand up too. Pickleball at the Alta Vista. So a few weeks ago back in March, it was a 3-2 vote. Was it March or was it February? I want to say February. Third meeting in February. It was to convert 2 of the Alta Vista tennis courts to dual use pickleball tennis at Alta Vista. That is maybe now, I just heard today, maybe coming in May, maybe later. We got a lot going on. That is not a done deal by any means. The tennis players didn't find out about it until after the council meeting, and they are coming to the council. The residents are coming to the council. The residents there had what they're saying when they're coming to the council said they had no idea about this decision. They had no idea about what's going on there. And so they're now being educated and they're now coming down and saying they would like to have input on this. So, yeah, not dead by any means. And if you have an input and idea, you need to come out and say it. Nancy, your hand is down. If Nancy Skiba, can put your hand up. Yep, go ahead and say something.
Okay, so assuming if we got the Hawthorne route, will they still be taking those hazardous materials down the road past people's homes?
Say that question one more time. How many? If they take the Hawthorne route?
Yeah, if they choose a Hawthorne route for the light trains, what's going to happen with the transportation of hazardous materials that they currently have going past people's backyards?
It will remain. So so right now, the way it's set up, the freight line is sort of halfway in that easement that's back there, or actually not easement, they actually, I believe Metro actually owns that land. It's set up halfway between. So it's some good sized distance between both sides, halfway in between, 50 feet or 75 feet in total. Holly actually knows the exact numbers. I don't want to say a number. But if they move the light rail line to Hawthorne Boulevard, it's going to stay exactly as it is. If the right of way gets chosen, the hazardous materials on that freight line will be moved up to 10 feet from the property lines from the people's backyards. Really bad idea.
Horrible.
So, all right, I got a bunch of thank yous. I appreciate that, David Epstein. I know you're not there anymore. Thank you, Barbara Epstein, for that input. Something many residents are not sure. Like, Kenny, can you ask like County Fire Chief? Yes, Rick. We asked the LA County to show up for the meeting. Thank you, Nancy. And for pickleball court, the swimmers were not in attendance to support the pool aviation. Yeah, that is true, Mark. Swimmers were not in attendance to support the pool aviation. That is very true. So I don't see any more comments on Facebook. I don't see any more comments online. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate you for being engaged and having all of this stuff that's happening. This is awesome. This is the most engagement I've ever seen. Really, really happy and stoked to see this level of comments happening. Really, really, really stoked. So thank you very much. I will see you guys tomorrow night at council or in my community meeting at Bill Brad's memorial event or online or in the neighborhood. Thank you, Joan, and thank you everyone else and Rolf, and I will see you later. Enjoy.
Thanks, Nils.
Bye, Melanie.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.